On November 22nd, 2019, I bought a house. I closed on it, and I'm excited to start this new chapter. But I wanted to make a video of just things about my apartment because it has served as my home for the past 7 years, and it meant a lot to me because it was my first and only apartment that I had in my name. And so just going down memory lane a little bit and making just a quick home video about my apartment. So one fun fact is, as I was packing up my things, I collect lighthouses, and I also collect dream catchers. I counted 17 lighthouses that I have gotten over the past 7 years of living in the apartment. So my apartment contained 17 lighthouses, and it also had a lot of dream catchers. I did not count all of the dream catchers, but there aren't as many as lighthouses, but there's still quite a few dream catchers as well. So those all are in my house now, but that's how many that I have had in my one-bedroom apartment. I want to share the story about my 70-pound bookshelf that I purchased not long after I moved into my apartment. It came in this box that I carried up my stairs by myself, and I idiotically put it together by myself. It said in the directions after I was finally done, it took me hours, by the way, that I should have no pieces left over. I had 5, and I still to this day don't know where in my bookshelf those 5 pieces were missing, but I did have 5 pieces. But ever since then, my bookshelf, I managed to attach one of the shelves on backwards, and I originally was just like, oh, whatever, I'll just paint the front of that shelf black to match the rest of the bookshelf. Never happened, but I think it gave it a little charm. It also has had a lean in it. It has tilted all these years, and it's never fallen over. It's never creaked like it was going to fall over or just collapse. I kind of thought it was going to happen, but it never did. And but it is not going to the house with me because I don't feel like it could survive a move. So have to get a new 70-pound bookshelf. But yeah, interesting fact about the bookshelf. If you have seen my bookshelf, that is why it leans in my apartment. The furniture I have been using in my apartment is all from family. So my couch and the rocking chair, or the recliner chair, is from my Uncle John and Aunt Janet, who both helped me move into my apartment because they have a truck. And then also my Uncle Pat came and helped me move into the apartment with the couch and the chair. And then also at the time I was using my brother's old bed that he used growing up. Then my bed that I still have now, was my first, what I like to call my first real adult purchase, because I went to the local furniture store here in town and purchased my first adult purchase, which was a full-size memory foam bed. And it is still to this day probably one of my favorite purchases I've ever bought for myself. That's practical, and so that was a pretty exciting day. So that's why you see the evolution of beds and what my bedroom has looked like over the past 7 years. One memory is a time when I think it was for my 24th birthday. A group of friends, it was a tradition amongst that group of friends that on their birthdays we would go and decorate their door. And they came over and decorated my door probably the night before, and saran wrapped it and trapping all these balloons in it, and it was really fun to open. So I remember that and took pictures of it. That happened. One funny thing about the apartment is I claimed a parking spot outside, which it's not technically my parking spot, but I always parked in pretty much the same spot unless somebody took it. But generally I always parked in the same parking spot. So that just kind of in my head was designated my parking spot. So even though my apartment is small, it's a one-bedroom apartment, I still have a lot of pride with my apartment because, like I said earlier, this was my first home that was in my name. Like I had control over everything, essentially, as much as a renter can have control. But I mean, the lease was in my name. I got to decide what decorations were up on the wall. And prior to that, I'd been a college student, and then in the summertime I would just live with friends and live on their couch, and my stuff fit into their closet in the living room, you know, in their apartment. So, and those were good times too. But this apartment, this was mine, you know, and there was just so much pride, especially in the very beginning. I remember just sometimes sitting on my couch. It's going to sound totally cliche, but I definitely did this. I would just sometimes sit on my couch and just kind of look at my apartment, go like, wow, this is mine. And one thing that is strange is it's a lot different now with a house. I have a pride with that, like I'm really proud of it, but it feels a lot different. So it was time to do this. It was time to purchase a home, because I love living here. I love the job that I have. So it was very much time to do this. But there's still, I still feel sad about moving from my apartment, because that has been my home, and that was just the first thing that my name was on, you know. And so I find myself, it took me a few days to go back and forth with moving things for one thing, but then also as I've been traveling back there by myself to clean the apartment, it just feels like, oh, this feels familiar, you know, like this is the route that I'm been so used to driving, and even entering the neighborhood, because now I live in a different neighborhood. It just feels, I can still feel obviously the familiarity and the comfort from that. And so it's interesting, the differences that I feel. I will be forever grateful for my renting experience. I could not have had a better landlord. Honestly, I could not have had a better landlord. She has been awesome. I mean, and my apartment was the perfect size for me. Sure, I couldn't have a lot of people over at the same time, but I mean, I'm not, that I probably wouldn't have done that anyway. And so, but there's a lot of good memories made there. Lots of my friends did come over, and so just, you know, good memories made. And even in the bad times, you know, it was that was home. And so I'm just forever grateful for the experience. And it is different. It is sad to leave that part behind and embark upon this new journey, but it's a good, you know, it's a good feeling too. But I will be forever grateful for my renting experience, because it was a very good one, and I am very fortunate, and I have been very blessed.